Welcome back everyone to Tarvould's Best, a series where I drop a list of some of my favorite things. Games, music, hardware, you name it. And today's a very special episode for me, since I'm talking about my favorite console of all time, the Super Nintendo. I can't even try to quantify the amount of nostalgic power this thing has over me. When I think of childhood, I think of this thing over all else. Old friends? Nah. Childhood pets? Pfft. Grandma?
Sorry, Grams, it's actually a Japanese tech corporation that has my fond memories on lockdown.
As more and more games and consoles come out, it really just highlights how this thing has aged like J-Lo. The games still hold up, the controller still feels and functions perfectly, and the pop in and play nature of this console truly does make me long for the days of gaming's past. Ain't no day one patches on this gray box crafted by the gods. This thing has so many unbelievably incredible games on it that narrowing it down to just 10 was insanely difficult. So difficult, in fact, that I did it! That's right, this is secretly a top 20, but I'm gonna fire through 20 to 11 as fast as I can and give more attention to the top 10. You ready? Here we go! Mega Man 7. Amazing sprites, amazing music, amazing moment of Mega Man defying his programming and trying to kill a human Whoa, wait, what? Seiken Densetsu 3 or Trials of Mana. The sequel to Secret of Mana, but it did everything so much better. Better music, a full-on class system, no more annoying charging of weapons in combat only to whiff your shot. Oh, and Angela. Super Mario Kart. Spent way too many hours in this game that birthed a behemoth of a series. If you haven't yet, give it a try. It's unforgiving, but a lot of fun. DK Jr. didn't die for this shit to be slept on. Final Fantasy... 5. Of the Final Fantasy SNES titles, 4 has the best soundtrack, 6 has the best story, but 5 by far has the best gameplay. The job system from FF3 was perfected here, and the proof is in Galoof. While I don't like this one nearly as much as X or GX, it's still a hell of a game, with a hell of a soundtrack. Hearing those lyrics slapped onto this soundtrack by the Daytona guy in Smash Ultimate was a moment. Super Castlevania 4, a remake of the OG Castlevania which felt 100 times better to control. I mean, you can now crack your whip in all 8 directions and wrangle your dangle as much as you want. Now that is a man! Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. One of the greatest beat-em-ups of all time, and a rare occasion of the home version being way better than the arcade one. Leo mains, know your worth.
I'm better than you.
Evo, Search for Eden. An amazing action RPG made by Enix that has you evolving through the different eras of Earth through pure Darwinism. Survival of the thickest. Incredibly underrated and not talked about enough. Biting a brontosaurus in the ass never felt so good. Kirby's Dream Course. Kirby Golf, baby. This one has a bit of a learning curve to it, but what good is Kirby without some curves, you know what I mean? Super fun to try and sink a hole in one while using all of Kirby's classic abilities. Multiplayer is also a blast if you don't mind being a perfect asshole. Illusion of Gaia. Stab your enemies with a flute, become Fabio and let the air flow through your beautiful golden mane, and uncover some truly creepy and existential plot points as you work to save the Earth. All I can say is, I hope you like bacon. If you know, you know. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into the really good stuff. I have a soft rule where multiple games in a series will be represented by their best in show. Otherwise, the list would just be flooded with a few of the same series. That said, let's begin.
Number 10.
Yeah, that's right. I went there. DKC 3 squeaked out over DKC 2 for me based on the variety in the levels and the aesthetic of the world. What can I say? I'm Canadian. I'm incredibly biased here. Playing this game feels like being at the summer cottage or the winter camp to me. And you know, the dump. For real though, this hot take is gonna be raw like sushi, so kitty haters to the left. I love Kitty! He's a big old chunky dumb monkey baby who can yeet his cousin wherever she needs to go.
Holy shit, perfect spiral!
I find the contrast between Kitty and Dixie a lot more interesting than the two lightweights in Diddy and Dixie. The music may not be as good as in 2, but damn, it's still really catchy. And I love collecting the DK coins this time around by solving these little mini puzzles,
which require you to smack coin in the back with a beer keg.
This poor guy is just trying to keep his alcoholism under wraps. Well, too bad! The levels may seem a bit gimmicky, but they never overstay their welcome. I really do enjoy the variety in the gameplay, and this game is the perfect cozy experience for me.
Just don't ask me to explain this.
Number 9.
Oh my god, this game is so freaking addicting! By far my favorite style of puzzle game. This Yoshi's Islandified version of Panel de Pon has consistently made my palms sweaty like Tom's Versetti in nail-biting versus matches against brutal AI, or better yet, a friend of equal skill. Seriously, the amount of times me and my friends would max out the timer in 1v1 grudge matches where you're not even allowed to blink is immeasurable. The entire game is just a feast for the senses. The vibrant colors of the backgrounds and blocks, the bombastic sound effects of blocks clearing, and weighty thuds of garbage blocks crushing your soul, and the insane combos you rack up, consistently upping the pitch until it caps out at this torturous tinny sound while you can hear your opponent getting ready to destroy you with an absolute unit of trash, and oh my god, when will the shit just drop? This game is a competitive blast, and it's both torture and euphoria wrapped into one. Be sure to give this a try and play together with a friend under the clearest of blue skies.
Number 8.
This was baby Tarvould's first Zelda ever. Holy shit, nothing ever felt more epic than when I got my hands on this legendary gold box. I had never played either NES game, so this was my first dive into the Zelda franchise, and it got me good. From the opening lore drop paired with the deep emotional score, I was hookshotted for life. The sheer amount of places to go and secrets to uncover in Hyrule was the perfect thing to give my barely wrinkled childlike brain at the time, and I'll never forget the sheer amount of emotions this game gave me. I remember once when I was a kid, I was so terrified of getting in trouble or getting told on that when one of the Kakariko villagers screamed for the guards and ran into their homes to sick the guards on you while the music jacked up, I just screamed in total fear and shut the console off. Man, those were fun times. Fighting blind for the first time too was absolutely terrifying. Look at this dude! Many nightmares were had. What else can I say without spending hours talking about it? The graphics are crisp and clean, the music is timeless, the dungeons and puzzles are a treat for the brain, and the sheer amount of items and magic abilities you can get were a blast to uncover. Nothing felt more amazing than getting that level 4 golden master sword paired with the silver bow and arrows.
I wrote a blog post a while ago about why I f***ing hate video games, because this is what it does. It appeals to like the male fantasy.
I don't even have anything funny to say. This game is just unforgettable. Enough said.
Number 7.
Alright, now if we want to talk about games that are just pure, uncut, unfiltered, powerful enough to cure global depression fun, it's Kirby Superstar. Oh my god, this game is happiness incarnate.
Hey, you ever been sitting across from someone just trying to have a normal conversation, fighting every urge inside yourself to just scream out, yeah!
Just booting this game up immediately gets my nucleus accumbens sparking up like Krakow. Kirby's Adventure was great, but this was that game on 10,000 volts of adrenaline. Abilities went from a single move you could spam to full-on move sets with multiple inputs, and tech to pull off depending on the ability you had, all explained in the pause menus. Not only that, but you could take almost any ability and turn it into your very own best friend.
Oh, hey, Tarv. Glad to be here, but could you maybe turn me into Bugsy instead?
Oh yeah, sure man, no problem, thanks for hanging out.
They could either be AI controlled, or if you chuck your second SNES bone over to your buddy, bam! You've got one of the best couch co-op games to ever bless the system. Every ability buddy also has their own unique sprites, names, and in some cases could do things Kirby couldn't, like become a drivable vehicle, use their abilities underwater, or just float around and ignore the laws of gravity altogether. The game is split into 8 mini-games, which all included their own adventures and storylines. They mostly play the same, aside from a few different gimmicks within each, like collecting treasure, destroying the halberd within a time limit, or permanent abilities in space. But oh wait, there's actually 9! Man, remember when games hid extra content within it rather than just charge you for it? Those were the days. Content aside, it's truly the presentation of this game that makes it a timeless treasure. The popping colors, the beautiful sprites, and oh my god, the crunch on these sound effects will break your teeth! And I can't just not mention the perfection of a soundtrack. Make no mistake, this OST is all killer and no filler. Every track is a certified banger and perfectly fits the environments you're exploring. The level themes, the boss themes, the save room theme, and the absolutely beautiful credits theme, which fans of the channel will no doubt recognize. I could listen to these tunes for decades, and in fact, I have. Kirby Superstar is an absolute must-play for the SNES, so if you haven't yet, grab a friend, crank the volume, and have one of the most magical experiences the console has to offer. You won't regret it.
Number 6.
If you've never heard of this series before, I don't blame you. It's quite a niche title and the series itself never really took off the ground. If you did ever hear about it though, no doubt you heard about this title specifically, Lufia 2 Rise of the Sinistrals. And no doubt it was because people were telling you it was an incredible 16-bit RPG that is horrendously underrated and overlooked. Despite being a sequel, this game is actually a prequel to the less good Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, whose opening scene is a flashback to the final scene of this game. Kind of. So don't worry about jumping into this one right away, you'll be starting from the origin point in the story. And the story is one of the biggest reasons I adore this game. It's still a SNES RPG, so it's not breaking huge new ground here, but I love it regardless. You are the Chosen One and are summoned by a mysterious entity to go on a journey to use the dual blade to destroy the Sinistrals, evil gods who are set on enslaving the world through destruction, chaos, death, and terror. Typical stuff, but it's the execution and the characters that carry this story. I think this game has one of the best love stories in any RPG I've played, and possibly even the best. You start the game out in a bit of an awkward love triangle, but it's not even halfway through the game that it's resolved, and you end up marrying your true love. You have a baby and live for a year in your new hometown when all of a sudden the Sinistrals return to tear shit up. And from that point on, you're just a husband and wife setting out once again to protect the world, with your stakes pumped even higher now that you brought life into this world. You meet a rotating cast of interesting characters along the way, with some huge plot twists getting dropped when things really heat up. And the ending is absolutely gut-wrenching. The ending of this game absolutely kills me and affects me even more now than it ever did as a kid. No spoilers, but bring the tissues. That said, the gameplay itself is nothing to scoff at either. I think this game also has the best dungeons in any standard JRPG. Each dungeon is masterfully laid out with no random encounters, and they all feel like some of the best Zelda dungeons you'll ever come across. You can use all these tools to solve some incredibly elaborate and brain-busting puzzles, and it's so freaking satisfying figuring these out.
But man, some can really keep you stumped for hours.
The combat itself is pretty basic JRPG fare, with a couple interesting twists thrown in, like a rage meter that allows you to unleash latent abilities within your equipment, or a full-on Pokemon style system where your fifth party member is a capsule monster which you can raise and feed through the game to help you turn the tide of battle. It's a solid system which is elevated by the lack of random encounters and the incredible battle music. You want to know what it sounds like to fight a god? Here you go. Fill my ear holes with this until they bleed. It's boombastic. The battle, boss, and Sinistral themes are huge standouts for me, but there are a ton of beautiful tracks in this game. Highly suggest checking out some of the music, especially if you're a JRPG fan. Lufia 2. As far as JRPGs go, this thing has got it all. If you're a fan of the genre and haven't given this a shot, do it for me, and do it for Decker.
Number 5.
Is this one cheating a bit? Maybe, but to me this is the definitive way to play the first 5 Mario games, hands down. I especially love playing through the original Super Mario Bros. In this collection because of the remixed music, the tuned up physics, and the absolutely gorgeous backgrounds they added. Oh my god! My favorites being this crazy sky temple area, or the night sky with the flickering colored stars. All games in this collection aside from World get huge glow ups, with improved graphics, beautiful background art, and remixed soundtracks. This game makes it pretty hard for me to even go back to the NES and play any of these, because goddamn, the amount of polish on this makes a huge difference to the overall experience. That's not even mentioning the fact that these games are just incredible in their own right, and you get 5 of them. Nowadays, it's pretty standard for retro game collections to come out
and allow you to play retro games on modern consoles.
but what's not that common is to fully remake every single one of them. It happens, but it's definitely in the minority. Mario World itself is almost completely the same, but the Luigi actually looks like he should and not just Green Mario. He also spits fireballs instead of throwing them, which is a choice, I guess. You can easily dump hours and hours into this collection. I'm not a huge fan of Lost Levels or Mario Bros. 2 compared to the rest, but they're still fantastic games in their definitive form on this collection, which is just icing on the cake. Not to mention that Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of the greatest games ever made, wearing its Sunday best here. And no, that one little rogue pixel on the mushroom in Super Mario Bros. 1 doesn't bother me at all. This game is one of the earliest examples of how to do a retro game compilation correctly, and has a permanent home in my Super Nintendo.
Number 4.
That title screen still sends chill penguins up my spine.
Mega Man X2 was the follow-up to the incredible smash hit of Mega Man X.
Which took the old Mega Man formula and made it extreme for a new generation. It introduced to the series things like upgradable armor, wall sliding and jumping, dash jumping, chargeable enemy weapons, and the most metal soundtrack the SNES could possibly pull off. I honest to God contribute my love of metal music to this series. It got me at a young age, and once I found out that Neon Tiger's music from X3 was basically just My Michelle from Guns N' Roses, I fell into a metal rabbit hole and never came out. Okay, so why X2 over the original or X3? Well, this is for a few reasons. Firstly, I'm completely biased because it was the first X game I actually played. No point in not admitting that. Secondly, and this may seem like a total nitpick and not at all important to most people, but the upgraded Buster in X2 I think is the best it's ever been. Rather than the pink dragon threesome from X1 or the completely awkward and delayed combined charge shot of X3, X2 keeps it simple and just has both of X's arms shoot a full charge shot each, with the second not being affected by the iframes of the first if it's shot out quick enough. You can fire them both right away or hold on to the second one for later if you want. Again, this seems like a small thing, but it makes the flow of the game so much smoother and more fun to me. Anytime I'm looking at the trilogy and want to hop in for some quick fun, I always jump to X2. I love the levels, the music, and the new enemies, the X-Hunters, which offer up some totally optional challenging fights in order to try and get Zero's body parts back after he died in X1. While this is fun to do, I usually end up purposely not getting all of Zero back, because if you fail, you get to fight him in one of the best boss fights in the game. The X-Hunter bass music is probably also my favorite track from the entire Mega Man X series. It gets me so unbelievably jacked to enter the final levels of the game, and its energy is unmatched in my opinion. The X series is easily one of my favorite video game series of all time, and X2 is the best that the SNES has to offer up. If you've never played any of the X games on the Super Nintendo, then you best wheel get her done, bud. Oh god, I'm so sorry.
Number 3.
Man, I hate to be that guy, but I so miss this style of Mario RPG. I've played Mario & Luigi, I've played Thousand Year Door, but to me, this game has yet to be topped or even close to equaled. These last 3 games in the list are as close to perfect as you can get for me. I absolutely love Super Mario RPG. Top to bottom, this game is just pure RPG entertainment. It's funny, it's colorful, the sound effects crunch, the battle system is simple yet engaging, the controls are smooth, the pacing is tight, and my god, if Yoko Shimomura could tuck me into bed and pat my head each night while she opened her mouth agape and this soundtrack came out, I'd be, well, I'm sorry, I don't know why I wrote this. Seriously though, growing up as a massive Mario and Final Fantasy fan, seeing the juggernauts of Nintendo and Squaresoft come together to create something truly unique was unbelievable. It had the Nintendo polish, combined with the mechanics, storytelling, and sound design of Square's best. One of the most alluring and embracing things about the game though, compared to most Square RPGs at the time, was the battle system and its time to hit. Instead of simply telling your party members to do something and watching them play it out, you, as the player, could engage with each attack by pressing the A or Y button in time with the animations, allowing you to do some extra damage, extend the animation or attack, or defend against enemy blows, all in the heat of battle. Not only did your strategy matter, but now your reflexes and paying attention during the animations kept you on your toes and engaged at every moment, something that turn-based RPGs can tend to lack sometimes. This really added a lot of fun interactivity to the gameplay, and got you excited to see what your next weapon would do if you nailed the time hit, or could occasionally have some interesting interactions with the enemy's attacks as well. The story is for the most part pretty basic, but it's not without its touching moments that can really lump your throat up unexpectedly, especially when paired with the incredible soundtrack. Man, that ending, it gets me every damn time. Gino may never be in Smash, but he and Mallow will always live on in this one-of-a-kind masterpiece of a collaboration, right next to Booster.
Number 2.
Yeah, you had to know this one was coming. Fans of the channel will already know that I'm an incredibly huge Metroid fan, and Super Metroid is one of the best in the series. But let's be honest, you've already heard all this, right? Both from me and every other Metroid fan out there. I know I've personally been hearing that this is one of the best games of all time for close to 3 decades now. What else could I possibly add on here that I didn't already break down in the Metroid Retrospective? Well, if I want to get my video game YouTuber wings, I've got to attempt to make a lyrical version of a known video game song and make it relevant to the subject matter at hand, right? Ready? It doesn't matter.
Doody doody save small. Booty booty more ball. Shooty shooty down hall. Cutie cutie don't fall. Gotta kill the pirates. Crate, Phantom, Dragon, Ridley. Slingers and smash hits. Soundtrack makes me feel giddy. Open-ended planet. Make your way, brave Samus. Metroids are a huge threat. In the depths of the abyss, exploring planet Zebus while I try to avoid the Phoebus. Don't know why I said that. Not a whole lot rhymes with planet Zebus. Rhyming seems so hard. Not sure how I can appease this. You all know where this goes. I'm just gonna end it with the word penis.
Yeah, that's all I got. Guys, it's Super fucking Metroid.
Number 1.
Chills, emotions, nostalgia, transcendence. Guys, I can't possibly put into words just how much Chrono Trigger means to me. This game will never not be seen as perfect in my mind. Much like Super Metroid, I'm sure you've heard countless people tell you how incredible this game is. And if you haven't played it, I can understand why the constant bombardment of hearing about how great Chrono Trigger is could totally turn you away from it. But sometimes, very rarely, a game can be something between underrated and overrated. Properly rated. That's a thing, right? What I mean to say is, what you've heard is true. Chrono Trigger is one of the greatest video games of all time. And that's the word of the day when it comes to Chrono Trigger. time. The story is based around time travel, when a few happy little accidents occur to our hero Chrono, which sends him on a path to see the apocalyptic future of his planet, and leads him and his friends to the decision to fucking do something about it. Throughout the game, you meet and join up with an incredible cast of characters, all of which represent their era of time, as you work together to put an end to the being known as Lavos,
who is slowly gathering power within the planet.
until ultimately destroying civilization as we know it. The premise is simple, but going from point A to B ain't quite that cut and dry. But one of the greatest things about this game is how well each event flows into the next. Everything you do is plot relevant. Whether you are trying to collect a prehistoric gem, locate a missing youth whose ego has gone unchecked, or providing some sweet jerky to the military to revive their soldiers, it's always a step towards Lavos. This game has no fluff, no padding. It's paced beautifully from start to finish. Only near the end of the game can you go off the beaten path and explore some side quests. And each of these are some of the best representations of optional content I've ever seen. Using your ability to time travel, you're able to dive deeper into each of your party members and help them to overcome their personal hardships.
Guilt, grief, trauma, existentialism, legacy, neglect, death.
These side quests help to flesh out the already fantastic cast in a way that gives them some closure to the ghosts that have been haunting them, and give them some sick-ass loot, am I right, nerds? The music in this game is like beyond an OST. The soundtrack is more powerful than the game's dialogue. I can see the words on the screen and understand them, but the music carries all of the weight when it comes to portraying the emotions of any given moment. You could cut the dialogue right out of the game entirely, and I'd know exactly how the characters were feeling based on the music alone. If we could speak to each other through music like Chrono Trigger does, things would be so much clearer emotionally speaking. Oh well, I guess we still have Giphy. The gameplay too is one of my favorite aspects of the game. No random battles taking you to the X zone to duke it out. Battles take place right where you found the enemies, and your positions and the enemy's positioning makes a huge difference
in the effectiveness of your attacks.
And by far the coolest thing is the combining of multiple techs between party members to pull off these disgusting double and triple techs, further emphasizing the party's connection to each other and their shared goal of saving the future. Guys, I can't gush anymore. I mean, well, I could, but we'd be here forever. Chrono Trigger is not only just my favorite SNES game of all time, it's my favorite video game of all time. It got its hooks into me at the perfect moment in my life, and I'm so glad it did. If you haven't given this one a go yet, do yourself a favor and completely unplug from the world, the internet, all the noise, and sit down and really allow yourself to get absorbed in this epic adventure. I promise you, you will not regret the experience. Chrono Trigger is an undeniable masterpiece, and that is why it easily deserves the title of Tarvould's best SNES game.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. And an exceptionally huge thanks goes out to my supporters on Patreon. It means so much to me that you guys want to see my creations, and your generosity fills me with determination. Special shoutouts go to Welfare High, Connor Binder, James Cummings, Blue G, Melody Love, Redmond, and Pyrrhickong. You guys are the best. I put my soul into this one, and it would mean the absolute world to me if you could share this with anyone who you think would enjoy this. Thank you. Now, I've got to sign off before this damn song makes me cry again. See you on the next quest.